Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga. I am the Reverend Mandy Goheen. My pronouns are she and her, and it is my deepest honor to serve this congregation. It's my deepest honor to serve you today during this special time where we will take the subject of death and demystify and understand it in our own way, giving it a lilt of Unitarian Universalism. And you're welcome into this space, welcome into this time, welcome to join this community. If you are here for the first time, have traveled all the way from Canada to come to church, because I know you're, or you just wondered what this space is all about. Welcome on this day, no matter who you are, no matter what you bring, no matter how heavy or light your heart. Oop. In this church, we acknowledge this land is not our own. Land is nothing that belongs to anyone. Land is something that is very dicey and interesting and fragile right now with all the flooding and storms that we've had. Water has shown the power and not the mercy lately. So please join me in the land acknowledgement. At UUCC, we acknowledge that our church sits on Cherokee, Muskogee, and Yuchi land. We are a people of covenant with each other. We may have personal covenants with something higher, we may not. But what we do have in this space is a covenant with each other. Please join me in reading our covenant. We journey together, bound in the interdependent web of existence. We embrace diversity, own our conflicts, and assume good intentions. When we fail, we begin again in love. Justice and compassion shall be our watchwords, and beloved community our goal. And I have a helper. Come on up to help me light the chalice. We didn't do a practice run today, but you have done it before. You think you got it? Okay, Ty, thanks. Please join me in reading our chalice lighting words. Yeah, you use this one on that, light that, blow it out. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. All right. Good job. Thank you. Yeah, you can put that one out. I love that when I walked in, I immediately had eye contact and, do you need a chalice lighter today? An offer of help, an offer of community. It can come from the most unexpected and wondrous places. Yes, I always need a chalice lighter. So it's time for the hymn of the month and the beginning, and Layla thought that perhaps we needed the fire of commitment this month to help get our voting juices riled up and get us ready to continue the good fight for justice and democracy. So please rise in body and or spirit and join us in our opening hymn, The Fire of Commitment. now is the time for the story for all ages. If anybody wants to come up and hang out, you're welcome to. I'm going to take a brave step and sit down on these steps. Sometimes, Ty, I can get up, and sometimes I can't. Are you there for me, friend? All right. Whew. Good to have a plan, right? So, who knows what a tiger is? Do you know what a tiger is? Roar! Yeah. This is a Korean folk tale, and it's retold by somebody, but it's probably going to get even more retold by me. So, once upon a time, many years ago, there lived a man and his wife, and they were very happy together and kind to each other, and they delighted in their life together. It was a sad day for both of them when the man was called away to war. Ew, yuck. He was gone for 2 years, and he missed his wife greatly, and she him. And she kept the house for a week, and for weeks she tried to double the work, and every day she longed for his return. In the war, the man saw terrible things, and it made him really, really sad and disturbed. When the war was over, the woman waited for his return, her eyes searching the road every day. 3, 4, sometimes 10 times a day went by, and she worried. Then one day, when she came home from the market, she saw someone sitting on the porch, still and not moving. Could it be? She dropped what she was carrying and ran to the house. It was him, she cried, and she embraced him. But he only patted her awkwardly and barely looked at her. And he said it was hard. For a week she tried to please him, to talk to him, to draw him out, but no matter what she did, he would only sit staring down at the road. He did not speak, and he ate very little, and he simply sat every day. She begged him to talk. She got mad at him and yelled at him to talk. Her anger left, and she began to worry. Has anybody had anybody that was really sad or down and they worried about them and they couldn't get them to talk or communicate? That's part of it. And we can be sad about so many different things. We can be sad about somebody who goes away, even like when our grandparents go on a trip and we kind of miss them, or our rents go to work for the day. Finally, one morning, she set out to visit a wise woman who lived at the edge of the forest. It was a whole day's journey, and amidst the potions and dusty books and jars lined on the endless shelves, she was told the wise one about her husband. The wise woman closed her eyes and thought, there is a cure. One potion for his condition, but I'm afraid I don't have all the necessary ingredients. They are very hard to find. The wife asked the woman, what do you need? And whatever it is, I'll find it. And she said, that's very difficult, my dear. The woman said, just tell me, I'll find them. I will need 6 yellow berries from a rare mountain thorn bush. What would happen if you picked berries from a thorn bush? It would hurt, right? Those you may find, though it will not be easy. The other thing will be very dangerous. Tell me, the woman said, I will need the whiskers of the great tiger. Who lives in the cave at the top of the mountain. The woman shuddered. Many had gone to search for the great tiger, but none had returned. The village was full of stories of bones around the cave. She said, I must and I will. On her trip home, she worried about how she would do this, and then she got an idea, which ideas are great, and she thought about what she would do. So she went to the store. What do you think tigers eat? Meat. Thank you for not saying people, but yes. I was worried sometimes the questions come out wrong. Yeah, they eat meat. So she would go to the store every day, and she would buy some meat, and she would make the long, long journey up to the cave, and she wouldn't get very close. What? The bunnies probably should have stayed home during that. Yeah, the bunnies are probably a little nicer. Do you sing to your bunnies? That's what she did. every day when she took the meat nearer and nearer the cave, she would sing a song like a lullaby to help soothe the tiger and know that she was a good person. And she kept doing it for many, many days and months. And finally, one day, she was right at the front of the cave. And she sat down and she sang her song. And guess what that tiger did? He came out and laid his head on her lap. That's a little scary, I know, right? And she kept singing, and she reached over and stroked him, and he seemed not to mind. And bink, she pulled one of his whiskers out, kind of afraid he would get mad. He didn't. She kept singing and singing.
And Lulu went away.
Yeah, sometimes. So anyway, she got all the whiskers she needed. It took her a couple days to gather the whiskers. She had the 6 golden berries, and she took them as quickly as she could back to the wise woman and gave them to her ready for the cure. And the wise woman gathered the ingredients and threw them in the fire. She was really upset. She said, I worked so hard to get all that. Why did you throw it in the fire? And the wise woman said, nothing can help. Your husband needs the same thing as the tiger. He needs you to wait and be gentle and sing. And so she learned from that. And so she started singing to her husband, even though he might not look at her, and started taking care of him and checking in with him when he was so down that he couldn't look up. I have known people so down that they can't look up. And I've known sometimes when people are so sad like that, that you don't feel like your songs and your hugs and that stuff is doing very much good. But guess what happens when you do that a lot? It starts working. And just like the patience she showed the tiger, she showed her husband, and he started to feel better. And one day, he was standing in the garden. It was odd. She was worried because he wasn't sitting on the porch. And he was standing in the garden looking at a beautiful flower. And she walked up to him, and he put his arm over her shoulder. And that was the beginning of the next part of their story. So, we have to be patient with people who are sad, right? And we really probably shouldn't take whiskers out of tigers. Right? But sometimes it's really hard to be patient when people are sad. We can act silly and try to cheer them up. And sometimes in our silliness and how uncomfortable we are with their sadness, we make it worse. Because we've all experienced that. So be patient with yourself when you're trying to cheer someone up who's sad. And never, ever forget to give people hugs and tell them that you love them. And with that, it is time to go to class. Wait, don't leave me. Okay. Woo. I'm just seeing the order of my slides. Thank you. Sorry about that. I think it's a little out of order, but I'll go ahead and do our reading today, and then I'll be done with reading for a little bit. This was from a podcast on NPR about planning your own funeral. And this was read by John Beck's daughter 2 weeks ago at his memorial service. She had wound up growing up to be an engineer and found these words super comforting. You want a physicist to speak at your funeral. You want a physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy so that they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind your sobbing mother about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy gets created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your mother to know that all your energy, every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of energy particle that was her beloved child remains with her in this world. You want a physicist to tell your weeping father that amid the energies of the cosmos, you have gave as good as you got. And at one point, you hope the physicist would step down from the pulpit and walk to your broken-hearted spouse there in the pew and tell him that all the photons that ever bounced off your face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by your smile, by the touch of your hair, hundreds and trillions of particles have raced off like children, their ways forever changed by you. And as your widow rocks in the arms of loving family, may the physicist let her know that all the photons that bounced for you were gathered in the particle detectors that are her eyes. Those photons created within her constellation of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind the congregation of how much all our energy gives off heat. There may be a few fanning themselves with their programs as he says it, and she will tell them that the warmth that flowed through your life is still there, still part that we are, even as we who mourn continue to heat our bodies and our own lives. And you will want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that they need not have faith. Indeed, they should not have faith. Let them know the measure that scientists have measured precisely, the conservation of energy, and found it accurate, variable, but consistent across space and time. You can hope your family will examine the evidence and satisfy themselves that science is a sound and that they'll be comforted to know your energy is still there around you, according to the law of conservation of energy. Not one bit of you is gone. You're just a little bit less orderly. And with that, I would invite you forward to bring a stone, drop a stone in the water. I will acknowledge a couple times that in Chattanooga today is our Pride Festival. Our parade is happening now. That's why we have some empty spaces. So we are in that in-between. But these rocks today are specifically for the safety of queer people in Chattanooga and beyond, and ever-broadening circles of love. No one should ever be unsafe just because of who they are. And hopefully in this space we can create some sanctuary and do our best to love everyone. If you'd like to come forward and drop a stone in the water, you can even take, they're not stones, they're glass things. Anyway, there's my science brain, got a little technical there. You can even slip one in your pocket and use it this week to fill it up with the stuff of your week and bring it back next week and drop it in the water. Maybe you won't be back next week. Throw it in the lake. It'll be good. As long as you have an opportunity for cleansing. If you're not comfortable coming forward, because we do have cameras, there's a bowl at the back where you may also do this ritual. If you would like a hug, I'm here, but they are always optional. And with that, I invite you forward. of love, Spirit of light, invite us into a time of meditation or prayer or thoughtfulness that is our tradition. As we hold close the community, the folks who make us smile and challenge us and help us to grow, nurtured by both water, nurtured by grief, nurtured by happiness, and nurtured by the hope that is difficult, even at the worst of times, to let go of. May it be so, and blessed be. So there's a rule with ministers is you're supposed to preach from scars, not wounds. And when I was thinking about this being such a good subject for today because it's fall and things are shifting, I didn't know that my uncle would die this Friday. So it's been a little more tender than I expected. But also, I am reminded of the importance of our ancestors and the importance of the experience of being with someone when they pass away. One of us in the room is professional, thank goodness, because it takes a calling to be present for death and dying. We are connected to a place around here called Welcome Home. And Welcome Home is a shelter for those who find themselves unhoused and in the process of dying. So we've had that connection with that in this congregation for a very long time, and it's important. It's an important connection because we live in a space, in a place where death is not talked about, not planned for, yet inevitable. I have many memories of my children asking about death when they're younger, but now they're teenagers and up, and it seems like we don't talk about it enough anymore. I was thinking about, I used to know what their wishes were, and I don't anymore, and it's an important conversation to check back in about what someone's wishes are, what they would want. My mom, whose oldest brother just died, is complaining because of the inconvenience of the cemetery where he once buried. And I was like, okay. And she is worried that because of her mobility issues and everybody else aging, it will be hard to get in and out of that space during what will be a really big to-do in Scioto County, Ohio. Like real big. This guy was important, and it's going to be a big to-do. And my mom is worried that people will get stuck in the mud or block the road. And I am not worried because the place where he'll be overlooking his ranch is not always convenient. Our wishes after death are not always convenient, but they are important to share with each other. When I was 30-ish, a minute ago, I started an undergraduate class in developmental psychology in Montgomery, Alabama. I thought this class was so dumb until I went to seminary about 10 years later and I figured out what it was about. But in this class, they made you plan for everything and process everything and then share it with the class. And I didn't want to plan my funeral. That was ridiculous. My family all has this joke that roll us in a sheet and then throw us over the hill into the holler. Like, I thought we had a plan. I didn't know that plan was so unrealistic that nobody would follow it. It had some tension. So my well-meaning good girl goes to a mortuary in Alabama where they give me this big list of choices I have. And I said to the man, but I don't want to be embalmed. And he said, well, you have to. And I said, no, I don't. And he said, well, in order to cross state lines like you want to do and be rolled over a hill and a holler, which I think is silly, you're going to have to be embalmed. And I said, okay, well, maybe somebody can sneak me out, or I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. He was so disturbed by my plan of a more natural burial. I didn't know that was a thing then, by the way. It was just the thing we did. He was so disturbed by my plans that he said the following. Well, do you want your bones to float to the top of the earth like they do in the black cemetery? And I was like, I thought I came here to plan a funeral. I didn't know I had to come here and fight with you about who was allowed to be buried where and why, who had the privilege. It had never occurred to me that how that work has privilege involved. I do like Chattanooga. And I do like Chattanooga because we have this little tiny slice, you know what I'm going to say, of New Orleans. And we have some home-going parties around here. And I was living over in St. Elmo, and the first time I was on my way to pick my kids up and got stopped by 4 black horses pulling a hearse and playing music, I was shocked. I was like, how on earth, what is happening? And how everybody had the same color on and they were cheering from the cars. The next week, I looked into the cemetery and there was this big, clear Scooby-Doo looking van thing, hot rod thing, and it was clear-sided with a casket in it. And I was like, what on earth is happening in Chattanooga? What is happening here? Who gets called to serve death in a way that they drive that thing around? And how embarrassing is that? There's my sensibility. There's my white fragility poking myself about death again. We have created a funeral and industrial complex in the United States. We've moved from a space where families wash the bodies of their dead and buried them into a space of sterilization and separateness from death. We like to pretend like it doesn't happen, and apparently we like to pretend like white people are better at it. And we need to calm down a little bit about that. We need to have a relationship with what happens when we die. What happens when we die is, as in the reading, we are still here. We are many things. We are ancestors. We are stardust. We are all around. My dad had a different opinion about death than my mother because he was an atheist. I grew up in an atheistic Catholic household. No wonder I'm standing right here, right? And the week my dad died, I had the just deepest, most horrible honor of being with him that week and holding him and doing the thing of being present and witnessing his death. And these big pileated woodpeckers kept bothering us. And I don't say that in any way like they're not, but we would look up and one would be like looking in the window, like hanging upside down. And I was like, okay, hi. And what they were doing was very innocent. They were eating the carpenter bees out of the porch. They weren't like really attacking us or anything, right? But it was startling to see a pterodactyl like right out the window. Every once in a while, they're big, right? And one of my friends said, do you think that was your dad? And I said, no. He wasn't even dead yet. How could that be my dad? And then I saw a Luna moth, and then she said it again. And I was like, no. A year later, I was driving down the road with my best friend in somewhere we shouldn't have been in southern Mississippi. Like, we shouldn't have been there. We like those drives. And I said, I can just imagine right now my father and his friends riding their motorcycles down this road. This looks like the place. And a pileated woodpecker flew out of the woods in front of the car and tipped and took off. And I was like, no. I didn't even ask you to do that. I didn't even ask you to tell me you were still here. But I want to tell you that I have had more comfort around death from my atheist father than any other source in my life, because he is still here. About 3 weeks ago, I had the obnoxious idea that I might paint his portrait. He's only been gone about 4 years. It's not time yet. I'm just saying. And I pulled my phone out, as you do, and you're like flipping through pictures. Who has an iPhone? Yeah. Those live pictures you can take. I don't know if other phones do that. And I found the picture I wanted to paint, and I touched it. And he smiled at me. Not the smile of love or affection, the shit-eating grin, as we said, that he had. The one that I have, right? Like that same sparkly, mischievous legacy that he had handed down to me was in that picture. And right now, the chills and goosebumps I feel right now, he is present. Wouldn't it be cool if we thought more about what our presence might be? One of the founders of the church in Montgomery, Alabama, her name was Doda Walker. And she was dying. And also, like my dad, pretty hardcore atheist. And her daughter said, well, what if you come and, if it's real, you appear to me? And Doda said, first of all, it's not real. I will not appear to you. But if I did, it would be a hummingbird. And as we are sprinkling her ashes in the memorial garden at the church, a hummingbird flew through the middle of all of us. To which we went, well, what if the presence of people who are gone is still swirling around us to comfort us? What if that isn't scary? What if it's there to guide us, to hold us? My father's legacy to me is that he loved me for my authenticity, in fact, encouraged it. I never had to code switch around him. I could say the words that he taught me to say, quite frankly, that weren't always appropriate, but I had this relationship with him. I don't know if you've ever known someone like this. My husband, too, where I can just be authentically who I am. I don't have to watch what I say. And I think that if I miss anything the most about him, it's that. Legacies are funny things. They really are. The thing that we hand down is funny. And we don't have some punch card that tells us when our time is up. But what I want you to do is think about talking to people you love about what they would like. And don't make it some morbid, terrible thing. For example, my Uncle Kevin has a girlfriend, but he's kind of a single guy, and we were joking with him, what would you like to do? What do you want us to do with your body? And he's like, oh, well, I think I just want to be cremated, and you can put me in the island in our lake. And I want a red maple tree planted there. And I was like, oh, that's perfect, thank you. He's like, nobody ever asked me that before. Ironically, they came back from the nursery, because we always work on the farm while we're camping, and he had a red maple tree. And I was like, do you want to do it now? Or do you want to do it later? What tree is important to you to be present? What flowers do you want there? What kind of burial do you desire? The only place I know of, there's a couple natural burial places up north in Tennessee. What calling do you have around death? And one of the things that I really have been thinking about very seriously, and I don't take the word calling lightly, is what I could do to provide more natural burial space here in Chattanooga. I think one of the things people don't know is you can do land conservation with your body. You can protect that land from being developed by being buried there. And what if, because I see who's in the room, what if we use that privilege that we inherently have because we are white, many of us, because we have access, many of us, to create spaces for everyone to die with not just dignity, but with love and compassion? And what if you knew what your children wanted? You knew what your friends wanted. And what if you told someone what you wanted? Because there's no bigger burden, and a lot of us know this, than planning a memorial service. And if we at least have an idea, we can do a good job. I officiated one of my best friend's memorials this year. I've talked about it before. It was in a Pentecostal church in West Virginia. Woo, that was another story. But one of the things the minister said to me, trying to run me off from doing it because he really wanted to do it, he said to me, I am anointed in memorial. And I was like, I am too. I like that. I am too. What if we were all anointed in remembering each other in a way that honors and makes space? What if we stopped chasing the memories of our loved ones out of our heads and started believing in pileated woodpeckers and hummingbirds and that ripple in the water or that smell of your granny's lotion? What if we just let that be present in our lives? I think it would be of more comfort than we expect. And I want you to know, if you are interested in planning, very specifically with me, I am always here. And I would welcome sitting down and knowing what song you want sung. And I would welcome knowing where you wanted to be. And I would welcome you wanting to be here in our memorial garden. It is part of being community to understand what to do and how to be with our dead. It is fall. I love melancholy. It's my time of year to think lofty, gloomy thoughts. And I've just been thinking a lot about the legacy of this place and the legacy of the people who many of you are connected to who are in the memorial garden and always present. I have this little tiny necklace, and it has just a little bit of my obnoxious dad's ashes in it. And I don't always wear it, and I've thought of dumping it out a lot, but I just keep it. Because sometimes we can delight in the idea that I brought someone to church who didn't want to come today, and that he would have fit in here whether he liked it or not. May it be so, and blessed be. It is a time of our offertory. We have a lot going on. I don't know if you can see out that window or when you go outside. I want you to see that the sign got painted. Yeah. The sign got painted. The sign got painted. The sign got painted. The sign is the sign I drove by when I did live in Montgomery and thought, I could serve that church. That's halfway home. And the fact that it was fading so much really bothered me and a few other people. That sign is a legacy. Somebody insisted that sign get put up there. That is a cell tower. Those bells are fake. Not a thing in them. But when I arrived on Wednesday and I saw the sign being painted, my heart filled with joy, and I was a little bit obnoxious running around here celebrating like I had been given a sign again. I think the word on the street is it got painted last time, maybe 2000. Was it long? Does anybody have any memory of that thing being painted? Oh, you can't even. So it might have been 25-ish years. Like, it's been a minute. And your minister who serves you, who drove past that sign and eventually got called here, like 5 years later, got to pick the yellow on the sign. This place is special. It's worth supporting. We are that place to get nourished on Sunday and go out and be our best, most full of justice selves in the world. It gives us a place to center on treating ourselves with inherent worth and dignity, too. It's a place where children laugh and your minister dances in the parking lot when signs get painted. And with that, I would ask you to donate generously, and if this is a hard day for you, you let the plate pass by. And I'd ask you to do more than just put money in the offering plate. Come back. Come back again on Sunday. Let's get this place rocking and rolling. We're building steam. Let's start being here together and doing the work. And with that, the offering will be gratefully received. Oh, there's some. Will someone help collect the offering? There we go. It's Pride. Everybody's at the parade. Sorry. Please join me in our offertory response. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. To this work we dedicate our offerings. And now I'd like to invite Jan up for our social justice moment. Thank you.
In 2 weeks, we will be hosting Bridge Refugee Services for our Donate the Plate program. And in recognition of their service to the Chattanooga and Knoxville communities, I wanted to just have us pause for a moment and think about the divisive and demeaning language around which one presidential candidate has been using to talk about immigrants. And we know where this movie ends if we don't step up. And that means that in moments when we hear someone in our presence saying demeaning language about others, whether they are gay, immigrants, differently abled people, we know people of other races, women, we know what we need to say. We need to confront it. It would be best if all of our leaders acted like Republican Governor Mike DeWine, like Republican Mayor of Springfield, Ohio, and the police chief. It would be best if our leaders spoke out. But when they refuse, we must. And the other thing I would offer is that in this moment when others are using dehumanizing language, that we try to affirm the humanity in not only the targets of this language, but also, and this is really hard, those that are speaking these words. And in this spirit, I invite you to join with me in saying the opening words to your children's lesson downstairs. And these come with hand motions, so I hope you will join me. I offer you peace.
I offer you peace.
I offer you friendship.
I offer you friendship.
I offer you love.
I offer you love.
I see your beauty.
I see your beauty.
I hear your needs.
I hear your needs.
I feel your feelings.
I feel your feelings.
I honor the source in you.
I honor the source in you.
Let us work together.
Let us work together.
Thank you.
Please rise in body and or spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn. It is number 124, Be That Guide. Thank you, and please be seated. So what? So, it's Pride. If you have it in you, go down there and take a stroll through and see what's up. It's pretty interesting. If it offends you, don't go. And I was thinking about what Jan just said. And I was thinking about I'm going into Southern Ohio for, and isn't that funny that Southern Ohio is scarier than Chattanooga, Tennessee? Anyway, I find that quite ironic. But I have a strategy that I would like to give you all. And it's not just so what, but that's one you can say if somebody says something problematic. But the other thing I say when somebody says something kind of problematic, and I say, are you sure? Are you sure, beloved? Are you sure that that person doesn't deserve the same humanity and kindness that you do? Are you sure that's how you think? This is what I think. Here's the deal. We do not have to use the same tactics in the game. We can lead with love and justice and be firm in our commitment to that. Be firm in our questioning of authority and people's problematic thoughts. I assume I will be saying, "Are you sure?" a lot this week. I will assume that my mother will whisper in my ear, "Give your family a break," and I will whisper back, "No." That's what I'm popular. I'm a double value. I am both the family chaplain and the challenger. I have a tendency to get along with both sides of a fight and love people equally. I come from a feuding people, y'all. Like, we like to not talk. Are you sure? Are you sure that queer people in Chattanooga are safe? Are you sure that people don't deserve to migrate here and live? Are you sure you want to stay in America if things go a certain... Anyway, are you sure? We don't have to be mean. We don't have to get in fights. We don't have to make folks agree with us. But we do have to be clear that our values are centered in love and justice. And one of the easiest ways I have ever thought of doing that is by asking a question. Once I was in a little debate with my beloved brother about pronouns. And I was like, he's like, "Pronouns are stupid, blah, blah, blah. There can't be more than one person. They can't be they." You know, you've heard the whole thing. You've even thought it maybe sometimes, right? Like the whole thing. And I said, "Are you sure?" And then the next thing I said was, "What if it was someone you loved?" And he said, "Oh, that would be different." And then I said, "Oh, what if you loved everyone?" And he said, "Shut up, Mandy. I don't like listening to my big sister lecture me." And I said, "I'll keep doing it because I love you." Have you ever thought of that pushback to problematic language as your expression of love? Love for the world, love for the children who have a really better opening than maybe we do upstairs for their class. Love for justice, love for centering. It is not an easy road, but it is a worthwhile one. And the cool thing is, if you go today, even if you have some discomfort, you want to challenge yourself to be with people who might be a little wild today because it's their day, the worst thing that could probably happen to you is you're going to get glitter on you. And you're going to meet somebody really cool. And you're going to ask yourself, "Am I sure that I was uncomfortable with this?" Because that's the thing with karma and balance and blah, blah, blah. We have to ask ourselves just as much, am I sure that's true? Go out questioning. Go out loving the world, and go out in peace. And is my chalice person still in here? Go downstairs. Okay, we'll extinguish the chalice on our own, hopefully and nothing bad will happen without a kid in the room. But please join me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. We carry these in our hearts and share them with all the world. And now it's time for our sacrament, the announcements. I know that we have a big announcement about art, and I think we have several others. Let's do the art one. It's a good one. And there's snacks and art. And my art's down. Whew. I'm so relieved.
Hello, I'm Carol Hobbs, Chair of Art on the Walls Committee. I'm sure you have noticed we have a new exhibit up, the rich colors, the creativity.
The dogs. Sorry.
We have gone to the dogs.
The dogs. Yeah.
In a great way. So yes, we are honored to host an exhibit of 10 paintings by artist Pippa Brown.
Yay.
Let me tell you a little bit about Pippa. She was born and lived most of her life in Zimbabwe, Africa. She obtained degrees in art, psychology, and education from the University of Natal in Pietermaritzburg, South Africa. She has exhibited in the National Gallery of Zimbabwe as well as other galleries in Harare. She has illustrated children's books and has exhibited internationally. Pippa presently lives in Sewanee, Tennessee, where she is focusing on developing the expressive art we see today. She is also a full-time yoga instructor. We are holding a reception after the service today, so those of you not going to the Pride Parade, we encourage you to stay and eat something with us. Enjoy the details of the art. Meet Pippa. She's here to answer any questions you have about her art. And Pippa, stand up so that we can give you an applause. Thank you.
Everyone needs a snack and to hang out before Pride, so we go all strong. It's fun. It all fits.
Thank you, Pippa, for sharing your art with us. Some of it is for sale, with 10% going to UCC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Good morning. My name is Christian. Just 2-3 things. First, just in general, yoga continues on Mondays. Everyone is welcome, any level. Yogi masters and first-timers, chair yoga and athletes, everyone is invited. Our yoga teacher, she always kind of base it, hey, and if you feel comfortable, you can do this, you can do that, and then soon you'll be flying like some of us. Beyond that, next Sunday we have Forum. Sandy Kurtz will lead us into kind of, it's a reflection about one of the TED Talks that talks about repair, reimagine, repurpose against that one use consumption culture and what to do about it. So she reflects with us about that. Then on the Sunday afterwards, on the 20th, we have a special forum. We'll have Jack Allen come kind of, and we're going to talk with him, kind of reflect together about protecting the democracy and kind of in preparation also of the elections. Oh, and it starts at 9:30, kind of meeting time at 9:45, the discussion starts.
Okay. So just to be clear, for videos watching us, we are talking about this democracy with a guy that is coming here. You might see his signs around town. It should be pretty interesting. So, one other announcement is I'm going to drive to Ohio tomorrow. I know I've said that 14 times, but I'll be away, but I'll be reachable by text or whatever. We had, and it was just 2 of us, but it was glorious. We had our first art hangout, and I discovered that when I'm drawing, I listen really well. So it was really fun, and I drew a couple bad pictures and just listened, and I really enjoyed myself. I learned more about another person's art, specifically some stuff about music that I didn't understand. If you were going to tell me about music, I will ask you a million questions. So on the first Wednesday, so mark your calendars for next month, of the month, we will meet and hang out and do art. And when I say do art, like maybe Sudoku is your art, maybe a coloring book. Like, there is no judgment. This is all about hanging out and having fun. So I just wanted you to know that that was a really fun night. Our service is over. May our service to the world begin and glow and shine for justice. Amen.
Amen.